Welcome to All This Math. This is Professor Parker, and today, before we get into our lesson, I want to give a shout out to Florida A&M University, aka FAMU. I did not attend FAMU, but I just like to generally just show love to HBCUs. So shout out to FAMU down in Florida. All right, now, today we're going to talk about how to write the equation of a line, okay, when we're given certain information. Now, this is a fundamental skill that we must have if we're going to master Algebra 1, right? We have to know how, when we're given information about the graph of a line, how to take that information and write the equation of the line, because the equation of the line is like the name of the line or how we describe the line. So what we have here is we have a statement which gives certain information about a typical line, and we're going to take that information and put it into a formula or a format, and we're going to have what's called the equation of the line. Now, one of the things I do want to point out is this. There are different ways to write the equation of a line. Some people are advocates of the slope-intercept form, which looks like this. Y equals mx plus b, right? Some people are advocates of the point slope form, which looks a little different, it's a little longer. And some people are advocates of the standard form, right? Which is about just as long as this, but the letters and the numbers and the variables or whatever are just rearranged in a different way, right? I think, like, the slope-intercept form is probably the most popular way to write the equation of a line. Some people might disagree, and that's cool. Different people have different prerogatives. And also, it depends on what information you're given and what your goal is, what form of the equation of a line you're going to use, all right? In this particular problem, I'm going to use the slope-intercept form of the line, y equals mx plus b, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the question or read the information behind me, and I'm going to take the information out and then plug it into this in order to give us the equation of this line. So first, let's read it. It says, write the equation of the line that has x-intercept of 5 and a y-intercept of -2. Now, the important information that we're given is what the x-intercept is and what the y-intercept is. So let me underline that. And if you ever see a question like this, I recommend on your paper, you also underline or circle or draw a box around the important information. So here we have the x-intercept of 5 and the y-intercept of -2. Now, what I want to do is I want to first represent the x-intercept as a point, right? Because by definition, the x-intercept on the graph is the point where the line is going to cross the x-axis. And of course, the x-axis is the horizontal line, right? The horizontal axis. You have a y-axis, which is vertical, and then you have a x-axis, which is horizontal. And then based upon the values of the points, that's how we find out where the point should go. And then once we have points, we know how to draw our lines, wherever they may go. All right. So the x-intercept, I'm going to say x-int, is 5, 0. Because another way to define the x-intercept is this. The x-intercept is the value of x when y is 0. So whenever you have an x-intercept, you automatically know what your y value is. It's going to be 0. So the x-intercept is the value of x when y is 0. All right. Now, the y-intercept over here. The y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. So you see how it flips? The x-intercept is the value of x when y is 0. The y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. And in terms of the graph, the y-intercept is the point where the line is going to cross the y-axis. See that vertical axis that you always see on the graph paper? That's the y-intercept. That's that point where it crosses the vertical axis or the y-axis. That's the y-intercept. And we represent that this way. 0, -2. All right? So now, I want to figure out how I can take some of this information, plug it into this equation, and then come up with an equation that has a numerical value for m and a numerical value for b. I'm going to keep the y and the x. I'm going to keep the letter y or the variable y. I'm going to keep the letter x or the variable x. But I need a number right here, and I need a number right here if I'm going to actually write the equation. Now, here's one thing. B is the y-intercept. Always keep that in mind. B is the y-intercept. Now, some people look at this and say, oh, but if that's the y value, then how come that's not the y-intercept? the y-intercept is like a special y. A line has literally billions and billions and infinite number of points because lines go on forever. If you remember from geometry, lines go on forever in both directions, right? But there's a special y that we call the y-intercept because there's only one place where that line can cross the y-axis. Just one distinct place. That's the y-intercept. So because it's so special, it has its own letter, lowercase b. That's how special it is. It's got its own special name and special designation, right? So I already know what b is. I need to know what m is. This information does not tell me what m is. What is m, by the way? M is the slope of the line. The slope of the line. It's the rate of change in a word problem, or it also measures like how slanted or how flat or how slanted the line is going to be, right? It also tells us if the line goes up or if the uphill or the line goes downhill, right? Whether the slope is positive or negative. It does a lot of things. So the slope is also very important. We don't know the slope, so we're going to figure out the slope. It's a few ways to figure out the slope, though. I could, because I have 2 points, I could just use the slope formula and figure out the slope, or I could just plug in values and then solve for m. I think I kind of feel like plugging in values and solving for m right now, right? So what values am I going to plug in? So if I know my x-intercept is 5 and 0, that is an x value and a y value, right? Because the first number is my x, the second number is my y, right? So that's going to be this and this. M I don't know, but we're going to solve for that. B I know because we already established that B is the y-intercept. So I know this number, I can put a number right here, a number right here, and a number right here. The only thing I'm missing is m. And we're going to use algebra to figure out what m is. So check this out. I replace the y with 0. Boom. Write my equal sign. I rewrite my m because I don't know what m is. All right. I replace the x with 5 because I'm using this point. I'm not using this point. I'm using this point. This is my sample point where I get my x and my y from. This gives me my b, or my y-intercept. Now, this says plus b, but b is negative. So instead of me writing plus -2, I can just write -2 because adding a negative is the same thing as doing subtraction, right? So now I got -2. Now, I want to clean this up a little bit because of this part right here. Usually we're not going to have a variable in front of a number. Usually the number is the coefficient, so the number goes in front of the variable. So let me rewrite this equation. 0 equals 5m minus 2. So 0 equals 5m minus 2, right? Now, I want to solve for m. That's my goal. So first thing, I'm going to get rid of this -2. How do you get rid of the -2, though? You do the opposite operation. The opposite of subtracting 2 is adding 2. And if I add 2 on the right side, I also have to add 2 on the left side. So 0 plus 2 is 2. Bring down the 5m. Just bring it straight down. Now I want to get m all by itself. I got rid of the -2. Now I need to get rid of this 5. Again, do the opposite operation. 5m means 5 times m. The opposite of multiplication is division. So let's do this. Let's divide by 5 on the right. If I did that on the right side, also do that on the left side. Divide by 5 over there. 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. So 1m is the same thing as m. So now I have 2/5. So now I know what m is. I already knew what b was, and now I know what m is. And whenever we write the equation of a line, if we're using the slope-intercept form, we need a number in the place of m, and we need a number in the place of b. The y and the x will remain in the equation. The letter y will be there, the letter x will be there. Unless we have a horizontal line, in which case there won't be no x. And if we had a vertical line, there wouldn't be a y. But that's another conversation for another time in another video. All right. So now all I want to do now is I want to rewrite this equation with a number in the place of m and a number in the place of b. So I write y equals 2/5 x, because I'm following this format, plus b. But again, b is negative. So instead of writing plus -2, I can write something that's more neater, more sophisticated. I just write -2. And this is my equation. And we're done. And that's all it was to it. So I hope that this helps. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. Please copy the link and share it with some people. Let some people know. Some other people could benefit from it. And do remember that, as always, there's all this math all around you. Peace.